Welcome to Wave Wasters, I'm Matt, and today I'm going to show you how to print your own rice paper logos. To print your own logos, you're going to need a printer. An inkjet or a laser printer will work. However, some resins will cause certain inks to bleed, so you always want to make sure you do a test before using your logo on your project. You're also going to need rice paper. I wasn't able to find it locally at my craft stores, but you may be able to. If you can't, you can get rice paper online from a surf supply place, or you can buy a pack of it relatively inexpensive online. Because rice paper is so thin, you may not be able to print directly to it. To fix this, I'm going to use a regular sheet of printer paper, and I'm going to use it as a backing for the rice paper. And to attach the rice paper, I'm going to show two different ways to do it. One is going to use masking tape, or you can use clear tape, and the other is going to be using spray adhesive. So let's jump into adding the backing to the rice paper. The first way I'm going to show how to back the paper is using tape. Lay down your rice paper on a clean surface and then place your printer paper on top in the center. Then fold the rice paper over the printer paper and tape the center. Repeat this to the other side. Next, you're going to trim the two ends and cut the corners on angles. This is going to allow the ends to be folded over without doubling up on the paper. Once the corners are trimmed, fold the other end over, starting in the center, then tape it down. Once the center is taped down, fold the corners and tape them. The second method for backing the rice paper is using spray adhesive. I don't have repositionable spray, so I'm just going to spray the edges of the paper. First, I'm going to mark roughly 1/4 inch all the way around the paper. Then I'm going to use something to shield off where I don't want the spray adhesive. And I'm going to line it up with the mark so I only spray the outer 1/4 inch of the paper. I'm then going to repeat this process to all the edges. Once I'm done, I'm going to grab my rice paper and carefully place it on top of the backing paper, pressing down on the edges and making sure it's smooth with no creases. The last thing to do is trim the rice paper to the size of the backing paper. Now that our rice paper is backed, we need to create a file that we can use to print our logos. You can use any Word software or photo editing software. I'm going to use Illustrator because that's what I have, and I'm going to make sure that I put as many logos as I can fit onto a single sheet of paper so there's less waste. And I'm gonna do a couple different sizes, so I have different sizes for different projects. I'm gonna also make sure that I have a nice 1/2 inch border all around the sheet of paper. And then I'm going to save this as a PDF. So now that we have our file ready, we're gonna load this up into our printer. Now that I have my logos printed, I'm going to do a test with both the laser and the inkjet to see if either of them will bleed and which one works the best for me. I cut a few different sizes to test from the 2 prints to compare how each size looks and to compare the 2 inks. One thing I noticed is that it's best to trim the rice paper as close as possible to your logo, as the rice paper may show up ever so slightly on darker backgrounds. If your logo has a border, trim right to it. To test glassing these, I have a couple pieces of scrap foam, and one of them has a foam stain I did. And I'm going to use this just to see how the logos will look on a colored background. First, I'm going to put a little bit of resin down and spread it out, and then I'm going to place my logo on top and smooth it out so there are no air bubbles underneath. Finally, I'm going to put some resin on top and spread it out, and then I'm going to put my glass patch over, and then glass is normal. If you're doing a color lamination, you're going to want to glass your logo over top of your cured lamination before the hot coat. And you're going to want to put a thin fiberglass patch over top to protect your logo. My logos have cured, and I think I prefer the laser printer to the inkjet. It just has a little bit more detail and came out a little crisper. So that's what I'm going to use on my projects. You may find that inkjet works better for you or laser works better for you. Just whatever you do, make sure you do a test before you use it on a project, because the last thing you want is your logo or graphic to bleed on you. With that being said, I hope this video is helpful for printing your own rice paper graphics and logos, and here's how my final logos turned out.